Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice the radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a piece of advice that I've frankly given you before, and I may well end up giving you again. Stop buying single cards for Astral Radiance. Seriously, just stop doing it. Right now is the worst possible time to buy Astral Radiance singles unless you jump ahead. Now, you give it, 3 years, maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit less, and this set is completely out of print, and you can't buy it anywhere. At that point, the price of singles will start absolutely skyrocketing, and it is too late. Some really sought after cards may be earlier than that. But right now is an absolutely terrible, terrible time to go and buy singles for Astral Radiance. Now, this does come with my usual caveat, and that is, I'm not your dad, and I can't tell you what to do. Unless Daisy, Archie, or Ruben are watching this, in which case, I can tell you what to do. Surely you've got something productive you should be doing. If you really want to buy the cards now, go and buy the cards now. If you really want to be among the first people to grade them, go buy them now. If you really want them for in-person proxies, because that's how you like playing, go buy them now. If you just really want them now, and you can afford to buy them now, go buy them now. I'm not actually saying, don't, you're not allowed. What I am saying is, it's a bad idea right now, because you can basically guarantee to save a whole bunch of money if you just wait a little while. And I can prove it. Let's go to Fusion Strike, alright? Fusion Strike was a very pronounced version of this. So what we can do is we can go and have a look at the Mew VMAX alternate art, and we can see what was happening to it in November. Which, of course, was when the pre-release happened for Fusion Strike. And it was a $300 card. Someone paid $372.97 for the alternate art Mew VMAX. That's an absurd amount of money. If we have a look at February the 14th, $70. That's 3 months later, and it's a quarter of the price. In fact, actually a little bit less than a quarter of the price. And bearing in mind, Mew is still a popular Pokemon, and Mew VMAX is one of the best cards in the game right now. Mew VMAX is a very, very good deck that sees a huge amount of play. It's not that that card suddenly got unpopular. It's not that everyone started hating Mew. It's not that everybody decided they weren't going to play Mew VMAX. It's that the $300 mark was always absolutely ridiculous, and it was never going to last. Now, as a side note for Fusion Strike, I do believe that in the future, cards like Mew VMAX are going to be very, very sought after. And the reason essentially is, and I've given you this theory before, Fusion Strike is a very, very large set, the largest we've ever actually seen. And there's only really 3 alternate arts which are the really good hits in the set. And that puts a lot of people off buying it. It's not sold as well as some other sets. And I do believe that those 3 big hits, as well as Mew, you've got Espeon and Gengar, I do believe that in the future they will be very, very sought after cards because so many people aren't buying Fusion Strike because of the really, really low hit rates. So if you are looking out for them, now might be a decent time to go and buy them. Because, we can do a similar thing with Espeon VMAX. That was another one of the big 3 from the set. And if we go and look at it in November, which is of course right as pre-releases had started but the set wasn't out yet, people are playing around about $250. Somebody got a $150 quote-unquote bargain, but it was generally about a $250 card. You skip forward to February, what do you see? Oh look, it's an $80 card. It's like a third of the price. And this happens. This repeats all the time. And we can see this happening. Now, it is interesting when we look at cards like, let's take Charizard as an example, because we all know that Brilliant Stars was, the Charizard set. And let's take a look at the alternate art of the V. Because this kind of ran around a little bit. So this set came out in February, and we can take a little bit of a look at what happened around about the pre-releases, February the 14th, and we can see that's a $300 card. And I told you at the time, like with Mew, like with Espeon, that was overinflated, don't do it. Well, if we look literally 2 weeks later, waiting for the set to release, all of a sudden it's a $190 card. Not quite as big a drop, admittedly, but you're still saving a third on the price. That's still significant. It's still $100. But then if you have a look in April, it starts creeping up a little bit again. It's selling for about $215. Now, let's be clear, that's still quite a bit less than the $300 it was selling for in February. But there are some cards, and this is a warning I do need to give you while I'm going through this stuff, there are some cards, like Charizard, and they are rare exceptions, but there are some cards that will come down and creep up. But that does not mean you will get a good deal between the pre-release and the release of the set. You won't. Pre-releases for Astral Radiance just started. The set as a whole properly releases on Friday the 27th of May. So if you really want to be quick on the ball, if you want to buy these cards as soon as you can, just wait a few days, a week after the 27th of May. Because what happens on the 27th of May is that the set actually releases. Bunch of people buy booster boxes, bunch of people buy elite trainer boxes, bunch of people buy a bunch of stuff. And the market gets flooded. And all of a sudden there are many people who pull these good cards and go, wow, I pulled a really good card, let's go and try and sell it. But the problem is you pulled it at the same time as a billion other people, and that will drive the price right down. And yeah, maybe in a month or two the prices start going up again for your real chase cards like Charizard. That's fine. But you will not get a good deal between pre-release and the set release. Give it a few days, a week at least after the set officially releases. Let people flood the market with the cards, and you will see a drastic decrease in price. And I know that some of you are going, well, hang on a second, Wassy. Come on, mate. If we're honest, people know this already. And yes, but do they actually? Like, honestly, I'm not sure that they do. Because you're still seeing people do this. So, let's take the origin form of Palkia. If we have a look at this, we can see that it's generally selling for about $200. Yes, there was a $130 card. That is, well, a bargain, I suppose? Maybe? But, and also, right, that $225 one is totally misleading. I did check out the listing. It is for one card. They just have two of them, but they deliberately put the picture like that to try and make people believe that they had two that they were selling together. At least that's what it really looks like to me. I can't tell you what they actually wanted to do. That seems a bit dishonest. And you can keep going down. It just keeps selling for $200. It's a $200 card. How? Bearing in mind that I told you that 2 weeks after the release of Brilliant Stars, the alternate art of Charizard wasn't a $200 card. Yes, it's creeped up over since, but it wasn't at that point. Why is and don't get me wrong, the Kato artwork is absolutely stunning. I think the Kato artwork is phenomenal. I think it is absolutely brilliant. I'm a huge fan of it. But there is absolutely no way in 2 weeks' time this is a $200 card. That's just not happening. Now, obviously, I could be wrong. Obviously, things could change. I cannot actually tell you for certain what the prices are going to be. I can't see the future. But I just showed you a few examples and we got a whole bunch of information. The chances of this happening are incredibly slim. Yes, Palkia is a great card. Yes, Palkia is a legendary Pokemon. But again, within a couple of months, Mew had been put down to a $70 card. And that's Mew, and it's a VMAX with lower pull rates. And you're telling me that Origin Form Palkia V is a $200 card? I refuse to believe it. I absolutely refuse to believe it. I don't think it's happening. Might be, but I'm not buying it. We can look at the counterpoint, Dialga V. Now, this one is actually being a bit more sensible right now. It's not perfect, let's be clear, but it is at least being a little bit more sensible. It's sitting at around about $120, although I know the three I've got on screen right now are a little bit all over the place, but about $120 is roughly the going rate on eBay right now. And the artwork is phenomenal, and it's Mitsuhiro Arita, who we know by now is just an absolute master of the craft. But Dialga V isn't a terribly playable card. What we've got here is an exceptionally pretty card that people like, that isn't a particularly playable Pokemon. But we don't have the level here of something like a Mew or an Espeon. Let's be clear about that. So, I mean, what do we look for? I mean, Galarian Moltres V. Let's take that as an example. Galarian Moltres V is a phenomenal card which sees a redonkulous amount of play. It is a phenomenally playable card. And that is, as it stands at the moment, about $110. Now, bearing in mind, this is one of the more popular alternate arts that we've seen since they came around in Battle Styles. And it is from a card which has been at the centre of the metagame for months now. And that is hanging on as a $110 card. Are you really telling me that this Dialga is going to settle at about $120? It could. I just don't believe it. And then I've been having a look round at some others, which are just absolutely, completely and utterly baffling to me. Like, we can look at the alternate art of Machamp V. Now, I like Machamp V, and I think this artwork of Machamp V is absolutely phenomenal. I think it's one of the coolest artworks we've seen. Who's paying $100 for this card? Machamp is not a hyper-popular Pokemon. This is not a particularly good playable card. In what world is this a $100 card? And I know it's best offer accepted, so I didn't actually pay $100, but take an example that I like very much indeed. Let's take Greedent as an example. I love me Greedent V. I did actually get sent this by a lovely person who is, you know, just an absolute star in my eyes. I love this card. It's one of my favourite alternate arts. It's like a $20 card. It's not an expensive card at all. It's beautiful artwork, and I would argue that Greedent V is more playable than Machamp V, although I'm not sure how many people would actually agree with me. But are you telling me Machamp is 5 times this? I mean, goodness, let's take a look at Genesect V. Now, I personally very much like the art on Genesect V, the alternate art, but I understand that not everybody does. But it's still one of the most playable cards in the game at the moment. It is still like a hyper over-the-top playable card, and we're talking about a $40 card. And it's properly one of the very best cards in the game right now, and it's an alternate art V, so similar rarity, and that's sitting there at somewhere around a $40 card. And you're asking me to believe that people are actually going to be paying $100 for this? Of course they're not. And I really hope the person who bought the Machamp had a pretty good reason, because why? Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. And what really gets me, what confuses me so much, is Temple of Sinnoh. Someone paid $100 for Temple of Sinnoh. Now again, it's best offer accepted, so it could have been significantly less. But, you know, the Japanese version is like a $25 card. The second image on the screen here is, of course, of the Japanese version. That is pretty important to note. But it's like a $25 card. Temple of Sinnoh is a good card. It's really nice for making sure that your opponent's special energy is nerfed. And it's played as a one-off in a bunch of decks over in Japan. But $100 for a gold stadium? No. Obviously not. I mean, Training Court is a good card that sees a bunch of play. And the gold version of that's like a $10 card. You can get it for $12 with Vaporeon and Gold Urshifu right now. That's kind of cheap, actually. It's a shame they're in the US, otherwise I might be tempted to pick that one up. But my point is, these gold stadiums rarely attract that much value. Now, there is a difference here. These gold stadiums are Kato, and you know I'm collecting them because they're amazing. And I've got Gold Temple of Sinnoh in Japanese, and I will get it in English. Assuming I can get it for less than $100. Honestly, I'm assuming it's going to be like a $20 card in a couple of weeks' time. I'll pick it up then. So hopefully this has kind of convinced you. Hopefully this has made my point. We could look at sets like Fusion Strike and Brilliant Stars, as I have, and just look and see that actually even the sought-after cards from those sets, they plummeted in value as soon as the set actually got released. Yes, there are very rare exceptions like Alternate Art Charizard, and believe me when I say they are very rare exceptions, that will actually start creeping up again pretty quickly. So if you really think they've found an exception, maybe jump on it sooner rather than later. But even with those exceptions, you're still talking about the cards dropping dramatically as soon as pre-releases end and the set actually comes out properly. And that's basically my point here. I'm not saying that these cards are going to all become super dirt cheap, But I've done videos on this channel about Brilliant Stars singles, and I've shown you what happened to them, and with a few exceptions like the Charizard, these Brilliant Stars singles have actually become very, very cheap nowadays, and anyone who bought after the pre-release of Brilliant Stars but before the main set almost certainly paid a lot more than they needed to. Although, to be clear, as I said right at the beginning of the video, I am fully aware that some of you may have good reasons for buying them early. There are a bunch. If you have one of those reasons, obviously I'm not talking to you guys, but generally speaking, just hold off. There are some cards I really want from this set. I want those gold Kato Stadiums so badly, and there are 3 of them in this set. I really want the Hisuian Sneasler by Okacheke. That is a card I've also picked up in Japanese. And I will get these cards in English. But I'm telling you right now, you have my word. I'm not buying any of these singles before the set drops, unless the very unexpected thing happens and we do just get a phenomenal deal. And that might happen. You know, if I see somebody selling Hisuian Sneasler alternate art for a tenner, I will buy that card. If anyone wants to sell it for a tenner, hit me up on Twitter at the Wussy, would ya? But outside of little things like that, I think I'm going to wait. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you agree with me? Do you think there are deals to be found? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wussy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.